I am with Kyle DeGrace, former Baycat, talking about the 2016 and 2017 championships. Kyle, my first question for you, coming to the Baycats back in 2012, I was talking to Doug a couple of weeks back, and he mentioned how at the time he told David Mills and he told Keck that he's going to get Kyle DeGrace, and they told him back saying that's not going to happen because Jack's not going to let it happen. Just what do you remember about becoming a Baycat back in 2012?
Oh man, the first thing I remember is before even talking to Doug was once I thought about moving from Toronto. I got a phone call from I called. Let's put that out there now. I called, and then got a call back from Gary Calvert. So first conversation with him, I just expressed why I wanted to come up to Barrie, family reasons and whatnot, and then obviously just a change of scenery, as I thought my time in Toronto kind of come to a close. And we had a really good conversation, and then not too long after that, Doug became GM of the team, and then my friendship that I had with Doug that actually started in Toronto just became pretty easy after that. I became his first target, and I know you guys had Riley in here the year before. Disappointing loss in the first round. I think it was to Ottawa you guys had. So then I just became Doug's focus, or one of his early focuses and players to bring in, and kind of history from there.
Right. Yeah. And then 2012, 2013, you guys lose to Brantford, and then you guys finally win in 2014, 2015. 2016 season comes around, and it was a bit of a struggle at first. The pitching staff was depleted. You guys relied on a lot of the OBJ guys, Cole White, Nate Arruda, a few other guys. Just what do you remember with the grind that was the May and June in that 2016 season?
Honestly, it was exactly what you said it was. It was a grind. We didn't really have the depth on the mound at the time, but I think we were still kind of in the early stages of the team we ended up becoming. I think if it was 2 years later down the road, we really wouldn't have cared so much. As you can tell by the years just after that, the success we had. But it was it's always tough, but I think obviously learning how to lose sounds so stupid, but it's so true. Early on in Brantford, we just kind of kept grinding, and then eventually we got to the point where I want to say that was Emily's first year, was it not?
Yeah, it was Emily's first season. Yeah.
Just kind of carried the load from there, and then we know what he did in the playoffs. So it was kind of throw the pitch count out of the way, just give him the ball and let him go. And then I think that was pretty. I think you could see that by the way the final game of that finals went, but it was definitely a grind during the year. But at the end of the day, we learned how to win already, and I think we overcame it.
Right. And I was going to ask you about Emily's first game with the Baycats. He had almost that no-hitter. I think he had allowed 3 hits that entire night against the Panthers. So what do you remember about catching that first game by Emily, and maybe how surprised you were that he was going to be absolutely dominant?
I didn't catch it. Zach Sardelletti caught.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Right. But you still play that game. So what do you remember?
Just sheer dominance. I think it was like 95 pitches, 15 punch-outs, and a complete game. Like, for a strikeout guy, the thing about Emily that was so good, he just didn't waste pitches. If it was 0-2, it was over. It wasn't all of a sudden 3-2, like our boy Kitsy. Sorry, Kits. But he was just, when it came to pitch count, it was just so efficient. It was just, he got after guys and he put them away right away. So right then and there, and I know it was a little earlier on in the year, we're like, okay, we got a horse. It's now what are we going to get around it for a little bit of support.
Right. And coming into the playoffs, you guys beat Burlington in the first round. And as I wrote my thank you post to you guys, I talked to you after game 5 that you guys won that series. I asked you about the Panthers coming up, and you didn't like how I phrased the question, acting like the Panthers were the favorites. And you guys went on to sweep the Panthers in the next round. Just what do you remember about that series with the Panthers? And even though they had you guys' number in that, regular season, what was the confidence level at heading into that series?
Yeah, I was pretty confident. We had beat that group of guys before, regardless of where they were. We knew we had the horses, and then we knew what we can do, especially our offense. Like, we knew what we can do offensively. But I don't think we beat them once during the regular season, or we beat them
once. It was Emily's first game.
What's that?
Emily's first game.
It was Emily's first game, but I don't know if we beat them after that.
Right.
And then so they had that, but I don't think they fared too well after that. But we were a different group, man. We were really confident, especially, and I mentioned it a few times after we lost those first couple years to Brantford. It's just we didn't have that same reaction that we had to losing, where it just kind of, if we lost and then it was like, oh shit, how do we win? It was like, no, okay, whatever, and just
Right.
on to the next one. And then that team didn't really scare us. Everyone, I'm gonna take a little bit of a shot at them here. Everyone calls it a rivalry that we had with them, but the last I checked in rivalries, both teams at some point win, and I don't think they really won at any point.
Right. So that leads me to my next point. That semifinal series, you guys swept the Panthers, and you guys were waiting on that Maple Leafs Major series, and you were pretty excited. I know a couple of the other guys were, that London's bullpen melted down to Game 7, and you got the chance to face the Maple Leafs in the finals. Just how cool was that, being able to face that former team, and not only that, but ending up having a dog pile at Christie Pitt?
Well, I think if anybody remembers my first year in Barrie, it was pretty exciting to play the Leafs in the playoffs. I think I had a pretty good first round against them in 2012, I think it was. Man, it was fun. It was just kind of the staple point. We always took a picture after every championship we won with just the ex-Toronto guys. We called it the postcard for Jack. That was me. Sorry, Jack. I actually love Jack. But yeah, it was fun. It was really weird to win at the pits on a Sunday afternoon, I'll tell you that much. But it was kind of cool to at least beat them once in the playoffs. I know we are in the finals. I know we had oh God, what year was it? It might have been the year we beat London. We had that 7-game series with
2015.
2015. Yeah, that was, I think, Rose first. No, it was Rose second year maybe.
13.
But like we had some pretty good battles with them. They always had a really good team. They always had a really good offense. Goose and I always talked about their offense being one of the hardest to stop in the league, even with our good pitching, because they just had pro hitters up and down the lineup. And then when you had a locked in Walton Barrie, and then a couple years later, you started getting like the Justin Mars of the world and the Marcus Connects. John Salazzo always hit well against us. And then you neutralize everything by playing at the pits. Like, I think every game we played at the pits was, I don't know, 17-15. So they were always a fun team to play because they were always really good, and probably the most feared lineup in the playoffs, aside from the Brantford teams. And not even so much, Kitchener had good regular seasons, but that Toronto team was always the most feared lineup, the way they handled our staff.
Yeah, and that season too, I wrote a playoff preview and I listed all the teams that I thought had a decent chance at winning. And I got a DM from you pretty quickly saying, man, Toronto's a pretty decent team too. You might want to write something about them. And sure enough, that was a sweep, but it wasn't really a sweep. I mean, all 4 of those games could have gone either way. But it was Costello that was absolutely dominant in the finals. That home run that he hit in Game 1, he had 2 the day that you guys won in the pits. Just what do you remember with the absolute dominance he had against the Maple Leafs in that series?
He was kind of the same way as me when it came back to playing the Leafs. There was a little bit of a chip on his shoulder too from the way he kind of went out. But then that park obviously suits him a little bit. But he did that against a lot of people, not just Toronto. But he always did seem to step up quite a bit, especially at the pits. He was almost guaranteed home run a game. So you're a big, powerful left-handed hitter. It's a fly out and it's going out. So it's it was pretty fun to watch.
Yeah, and then the 2017 season comes around, and that's the best single season Baycat team ever, highlighted by Claudio and Emily on top of the rotation. Just when of that season that you realize that team might just stand out from the rest of the Baycat teams that you guys had?
I don't know, 25 straight wins or whatever the hell it was.
26, yeah.
26 straight wins, and then at the 15-game mark, we get this kid from Guelph that Guelph didn't want. He shows up and he's throwing mid-90s. I was like, okay, pretty good. There was just a different level of confidence we had that year. I think the first game we lost was to the Leafs.
Yeah, it was, yeah.
And on a Saturday night, I think it was.
Like that, yeah.
And I'm pretty sure we told Angus about a month before that we were going to lose that game because our entire team went to Beer Fest the night before. And then I think it was just an absolute launching pad watching Nags, Lawson, and Katina give up home run after home run. I think Procopio had 3.
Yeah, I remember that game, yeah.
One of them destroying the lights. So it was a good way to lose. It wasn't even close. I still think we scored 15 runs.
Yeah.
But and then I think we lost the 2 games to Hamilton. One of them being Claudio, who lost 2-1. They hit a 2-run homer off him in like the 8th inning in Hamilton. Probably a lot to do with his velocity of his fastball and just good timing on his swing. But man, that team was we were good. We were good, and we had the horses on the mound to go with it. We had a big league closer that we didn't even use, like legitimately a big league closer that we didn't use.
Right.
I think we had Rowe out of the pen that year too. So
Yeah.
like the staff was good, and I want to say that was that Kitsy's first year,
Second season, I think. Yeah.
second season with us. Like he was kind of always the unsung guy on the staff that didn't really get the credit that he deserved. So you got the likes of Claudio and Emily. Claudio's performance against Kitchener in that deciding game was still the most. But no, it was a game. It wasn't a deciding game. It was game three.
Game three. Yeah.
Game three. That was the easiest game I've ever caught in my life. I literally just put a finger down and he hit me, and they had no chance. I think they had like a broken bat infield hit in the first inning or something like that. And then what, he strike out 15 guys?
13 guys, I think. Yeah.
You're on top of that one. But that was one of the best pitching performances I've ever seen, and just that whole season, from the start to the beginning.
Right. Yeah. And
start to the end. Sorry.
Yeah, and you were absolutely dominant that postseason. I think you hit a couple home runs. Technically, you hit 3 home runs, but the one in Brantford they didn't count. They called it a double, I think, or something like that. But yeah,
can we just talk
dominant?
about this real quick?
Absolutely.
So in left center field, there's a fence, and then there's another fence about 10 feet behind it, and then a guy's backyard. The ball went into the backyard. The outfielders didn't even move, but it was a ground rule double. I actually thought it was a joke. When I was rounding second base, I just had my head down, and the umpire, like third base umpire, came running up to me and was like, "You got to go to second." I was like, "For what?" He was like, "It was a double." I was like, I was dumbfounded in a playoff game. I think I answered the question to the guys the other day on their little podcast why I would never manage in this league, because I hate umpires, and that's an exact reason why I hate umpires. For in a playoff game, not seeing a ball in broad daylight go over a fence, and it wasn't even close. It was a bomb, but yeah. So I did have 3 home runs.
Yeah. Well, I remember Dante was calling the game, and I was at home listening, and he was calling the home run, and then he sounded confused, and I thought he was losing it, and sure enough, it was the umpires. But yeah, you were absolutely dominant, especially against the Panthers in the finals. Was that some of the best baseball you played with the Baycats alongside that 2012 postseason against the Maple Leafs?
Yeah, I think the 2012 postseason was probably one of the better ones I've had. Actually, last year was probably a pretty good playoff too. Spatty went nuts, but I think I had a pretty good playoff. I think I led the league in RBIs and stolen bases, I think, in the playoffs.
That was impressive, yeah.
But I think that one, from an overall standpoint of being behind the plate and not losing a game and controlling the running game like I typically did in the playoffs, especially, and then to do what I did offensively was always nice. I actually told Angus before that playoffs, and he can agree with this one, because I actually did say it. I did say there's one thing I haven't done yet in this league, and it was win an MVP. So I was kind of hungry to go after that one. So
right. Yeah.
Glad it worked out.
Yeah, and it did. And especially, it wasn't just you that postseason that was outstanding. Claudio, as you said, with his Game 3 performance against the Panthers. Just what do you remember with that season that he had, and then him eventually signing with the Blue Jays?
It was just dominant. The kid was a phenomenal athlete. Like, he was 6-year pro with the Yankees. He was a shortstop, and then went to the mound last year. I remember having a conversation with a friend of mine who's now the cross-checker for the Jays in California, Jamie Lehman. Sorry, Dante, we'll tell the truth to this story. I just said, hey, we got a 6-year free agent guy. I know you're an amateur scout, but you guys got to work this kid out. I'm like, I'm pretty sure he's throwing upper 90s. He asked what the story was. I think he got down to the Rogers Center a couple days later for a workout, and then they liked what they saw. I want to say Atkinson, those guys were down there to even see him, and the scouting director at the time. And then he went off to Dunedin, and then next thing you know, he's pitching in AAA, 8 months later with the Jays? Right. And I think he was signed with the Braves last year. It's just an unbelievable story, and especially for him. He's such a good kid. He deserved the opportunity. Hopefully something is still out there for him.
Yeah, and this was on the 2016-2017 championships, but I want to go back to last season and ask you, it's your last season with the Baycats, and you went through a lot in the regular season. You're pretty beaten up, yet the whole franchise still expected you to catch come the finals, and not only did you catch, but you were dominant offensively too. Is that maybe what stands out to you the most of all 8 years that you have with the Baycats? Just not only accomplishing what you accomplished last season, but doing so beaten up.
Yeah, like I didn't want to be beat up, but Goose was sitting in a room with me when I had to get a cortisone shot, and the doctor told me that I had torn rotator cuff. So I was, I wanted to catch the last game I played. I've been through enough crap in my life. I've torn my ACL. I had reconstructive shoulder surgery once. The funny thing is I was honestly out of all July for an issue with my Achilles. And then I don't know what happened during that month, but when I was healthy enough to play, I looked at Angus. I was like, buddy, there's something wrong with my shoulder. I can't throw. He's like, what do you mean? I was like, and then I went and played catch in front of the dugout, and the ball went 3 feet, literally went 3 feet. And then I tried to rehab it, nothing. And I was like, I finally got seen by somebody, and they're like, you have a tear to your cuff. So I was like, well, what can we do? And just got a cortisone shot, let it sit in for 6 days. And I always made a joke with Do, because I always played catch with Do. I would always throw like maybe 10 to 15 warm-up throws a game. I said, I'm saving my bullets. They're running out. They ran out, man. They ran out. But I want to say that first game that I caught, I threw somebody out in the first inning. So
You did, yeah.
I don't know how the hell I did it, but I didn't feel my shoulder for a couple of weeks after that. But I always said that I'll play until I can, and that was it, man. It was time.
Right, yeah. And you wrote an amazing piece on the Baycats website back in March. So I won't ask you what it meant to be a Baycat because you addressed it perfectly in that article. But I asked Jackson when I did this podcast with him, I asked Stevie what it meant to be a Baycat. I want to ask you about your favorite memories. Just what were some of your favorite memories, both on and off the field, being with the Baycats?
Favorite memories, hands down, it's not even close, just the friendships that I made. The friendships that I made, the friendships that my wife made. Baseball, it's one thing to go to the yard and play a game with your friends. It's another thing to have lifelong friends off the field. You can't ever take that away. And that's by far my favorite memory of being in Barrie, because it gave us, my wife and I both, an opportunity to meet so many incredible people and still have close relationships with them now.
Right, yeah. And so Kyle, I want to thank you for doing this. Going back to when I first started back in 2013, you were the first guy I talked to. I'm not sure how great that interview was, but I always appreciate the time you've taken, and I appreciate the time you took for this one. So I appreciate you, man.
Appreciate it, buddy, and keep doing what you're doing, and you'll definitely have a bright future in whatever you choose to do.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
All right. See you, buddy.